Republicans want it like tomorrow. I want to see Barack Obama dragged out of his Martha's Vineyard mansion in handcuffs.
We all know that President Trump has an insane sense of humor. You know, he likes to troll, and we all know that. He is the master at that. Could that, in a way, mislead the base, thinking that that's going to happen? I think there's a chance that that could happen, because people will see that and go, "Oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen next week." When it doesn't, they get a little disappointed.
And many of them, of course, are already disappointed, which is probably why people like in that first clip, Newsmax host Rob Finnerty are suddenly frothing at the mouth of the possibility of people who haven't held political power for years and years and years being arrested. A lot more fun to focus on that as a MAGA person than on the fact that Donald Trump isn't doing a great job. But in the second video, you saw Brian Glenn. He's the White House correspondent for Real America's Voice. More importantly, he is Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend. It's more important because that's how he got his job, of course. And he accurately points out that when Trump promises over and over effectively with his memes and with his deepfake videos that Barack Obama is going to be arrested and Oprah Winfrey is going to be arrested and Beyonce is going to be arrested, if it doesn't actually happen, which it's not going to because that's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, they could end up being mad at him as a result of that. But meanwhile, some stuff has been developing around Hillary Clinton at the very least, tangentially Barack Obama as well. And some of their new reporting kind of throws a wrench in the works of the idea that ignore the Epstein thing, Hillary Clinton and Russia's the real scandal. So we're gonna get to this, all the details, the new reporting. But Cenk, are they ever gonna give up on trying to arrest these people?
So look, they're not. And Donald Trump's a giant fraud. We all know this. We're gonna show you in this story, there's two parts of it in particular that I'm going to point out that are deeply ironic, given all the things that they've said. Just hold all politicians accountable. If you're taking your politician's word for it, whether they're a Republican or a Democrat, you're nuts, okay? If a politician is talking, there's an excellent chance they're lying. So in this case, the lie is super obvious. And of course, they tried to frame it as the exact opposite of what's true.
Exactly, and so here we're talking about the thing that Tulsi Gabbard came out with, suspiciously close to MAGA blowing up in anger at Donald Trump, that we got Hillary Clinton and Obama on Russia, in some way that nobody can explain in a fashion that a rational person would consider to be serious. Now, the issue is the New York Times, as I said, is poking some more holes in the story. So they have, the reporting concerns two emails from July 2016. The first said that Hillary Clinton had approved a campaign proposal to tie Trump to Russia to distract from the scandal over her use of a private email server. If you're new to American politics, it used to be that you'd have a big scandal about a private email server. It's fairly quaint at this point, but at that point it was considered very serious. The second claimed that a Clinton advisor was proposing a plan to demonize Putin and Trump, adding, later the FBI will put more oil onto the fire. And those emails were attributed to a man named Leonard Bernardo of the Open Society Foundation's Network. That is the organization behind George Soros's philanthropic effort. So it's basically like a perfect storm of a conspiracy if you're from the right. There's an issue though. So he denies sending the emails, which you might say, well, he has an interest in lying about that. But evidently the special counsel at the time, John Durham, concluded that the Russians had probably faked the key emails, which is almost like a perfect Ouroboros of like, they're gonna accuse the Russians of being tied to Donald Trump. So the Russians strike back by creating a scandal that also takes the shadow of the suspicion off of them. It's kind of perfect at this point, but in that report by John Durham, he says their best assessment were that the emails purported to be from Bernardo were ultimately a composite of several emails that were obtained through Russian intelligence hacking of the US-based think tanks, including the Open Society Foundations, the Carnegie Endowment, and others. Now, at the same time, the Trump administration is claiming that annex, that report, proves the exact opposite. And we can jump ahead to graphic 6, where Kash Patel, director of the FBI for some reason, writes that the annex revealed a highly classified piece of the Durham report, evidence that the Clinton campaign plotted to frame President Trump and fabricate the Russia collusion hoax, which is, again, the exact opposite of what the guy in charge of the report is saying in plain English. And by the way, even if the emails were authentic, I don't exactly know why you would look at this and think, well, obviously Clinton is gonna rot in jail for the rest of her life. Like, let's say she was worried about the private email server. And she's like, you know what we should do? We should distract from it. We're gonna tie him to Russia. We're gonna demonize Putin and demonize Trump. That just sounds like a campaign, baby. That doesn't sound like they broke the law necessarily. Now, if they're manipulating evidence or if they're forcing FBI agents to do their bidding, then that would be serious. I mean, imagine if you had someone in the White House who had turned like the DOJ into just their private lawyers and all that. That would obviously be a scandal. I hope that never happens. So I don't necessarily understand it. I know that they have to pretend they have something to distract from the Epstein thing, but this is less than a nothing burger at this point.
Yeah, it's not less, it's more, it's worse because so Durham, the guy who did the report, he was supposed to be the hatchet man for Trump. The problem is that if you just flat out lie in court proceedings, you could get disbarred and it could ruin your career. It has happened to some of Trump's lawyers in the past, like Rudy Giuliani. So when he finds absolutely no evidence of Hillary Clinton or anyone creating this thing just to bury Trump and it's all a secret plot against him, etc. So he's like, okay, there was no plot. Okay, but he says, because he's got to put something in the report, otherwise Daddy Trump's gonna be super mad. He suggests that Hillary Clinton might have insinuated that Trump was working with Russia. First of all, I agree with John. For either side, isn't that just politics? Here, I'll insinuate it. I think Hillary Clinton was working to help Israel during that campaign, and so was Donald Trump. Wow, what a big deal, okay? So, okay, fine though, it's outrageous, how dare you say that, right? About Hillary. Turns out, he put in the appendix, by the way, there's actually no evidence to that effect, and there's actually overwhelming evidence that she was not doing that. Even though I think she's perfectly within her rights to do that, Durham knew. And he released the report, but didn't release the appendix. And in the appendix was the real evidence that she did not, her campaign, right or wrong, did not try to connect Trump and Russia. So when he then insinuates that she did, he's a giant liar. And he was hired to lie. So now his lies have been revealed. But will Trump supporters look at that and go, oh wow, man, I didn't know that. Okay, so I guess they didn't try to smear him that way. No chance. I often talk about the Trump voters, their giant spectrum, hardcore MAGA to independents, etc. For the overwhelming majority of Trump voters on this issue, they won't see straight. They'll just go, nope, Russia, Hillary's guilty. I don't care what the appendix says. I don't care what the evidence is. But the evidence is overwhelming. And I'm going to read you a quote in a minute, but Michael.
Well, first of all, there's so much here. The notion, and John was so, first of all, John, I love when you said Kash Patel, who for some reason is the head of the FBI. That was really funny. Just what John said is true. She was running for president. That's what you do when you're running for president. You associate, you tie, you get people, you insinuate. They did it with Barack Obama and a minister. They did it with, Nixon had it happen. He did it with McGovern. I mean, it's just part of running for president, as you say. Trump and Putin are bedfellows here, right? And you want to tie them together, you want to associate with them so you can beat them, right? You want to associate themselves with one another for that reason. And the notion that there was something nefarious is really, drummed up here. This is what John Durham, who you remember, as Jen pointed out, was put there as Trump's hatchet guy. And he even concluded that the emails were faked and that later on that they were probably compiled from different, places. And the fact that you've got these people going after Obama and Clinton and saying they need to be arrested. His was the campaign that said lock her up. He's been doing it forever. And meantime, the only person who's been found guilty in court, who've had to turn themselves into the authorities, is Trump himself.
Yeah, this is just, they've had now like a month of this Epstein thing. And I feel like they're calling like Sleepy Joe, like Sleepy Trump, Sleepy MAGA. Like you haven't come up with anything better than this. This is the best you've got. Now, I understand for some, they don't need to do any better. They do this stumbling, bumbling thing on its face, it contradicts itself, and still Representative Andy Ogles can be like, all of them need to be arrested, Obama, Clinton, Comey, Clapper, Brennan, Biden. They went after Trump for nothing, it's time we go after them for everything. Because that email was already in his drafts, okay? He was like, whatever they release, I'll just say this. It doesn't matter if it's convincing, it doesn't have to be. The point of putting out each of these details is so that Charlie Kirk has plausible deniability. Well, I would talk about Epstein, but I gotta talk about this. I mean, it's so much more important. Think about it. Do I seem like an outsider? Do I seem like I'm holding powerful people accountable? Follow-up question, Charlie, where are the Epstein files? Because he still hasn't released them. Seems kind of suspicious. Why hasn't he released those damn feisty files? And so that's all this is. And for any MAGA, regular MAGA people out there, the ones who are they didn't get their house paid for them by billionaires or whatever, don't be bought so easily. Like at least demand an interesting distraction, some actual red meat with real meat on the bones. This is pathetic.
Yeah, and to be fair to a lot of the guys who voted for Trump, mainly the independent podcasters and stuff, they've been calling him out left and right on many other things, including, by the way, overstepping on immigration and too many abuses and cruelty, etc. But stuff like this is core MAGA. I'd be shocked if they changed their mind. If they did, I mean, that goes to show enormously open mind. But hasn't happened yet.
I think, and this is like the first time I've ever had to give him credit for anything, Matt Walsh, I think, identified this story as a distraction from Epstein.
Interesting. He also talked about how the renaming the Washington Commanders was an obvious distraction. And he's like, I know you guys are gonna get on me. He's worried about his audience, right? But come on, it's an obvious distraction. So hey, like a tiny, tiny sliver of honesty broke out there. Because Matt Walsh is a deep right winger, he's not independent. He's not one of the he's not in the Rogan camp. He's in the deep right camp, right? So those are different camps. I want to get back to something in a second, but yeah, Michael.
Well, Andy Ogles Andy Ogles is a crazy person. He's a member of Congress. He's a nut. He's the person who thought the DEI was involved in that crash over the Potomac. If there weren't DEI, then there would be a better pilot in the Army helicopter. He's someone who wanted Obama arrested and Biden arrested for treason, and he still to this day still talks about the 2020 election being unfairly decided. He's a nut job. So when you hear from these people, there's not a serious strain to it. These are the extreme real nut jobs.
Yeah, but I think it's also purposeful and strategic. So this is a bag of squirrels. What do they do? I mean, we're talking about distracting from the Epstein files, but the Epstein files in the beginning were also part of the bag of squirrels. So what would Republicans do? Republicans would say, culture wars, oh my God, transports, this, that, the other thing, how M&Ms are dressed, everybody panic, right? And then this second thing, Epstein files, the Democrats are hiding it because of Bill Clinton. When we get in charge, we're gonna release the Epstein files. It was just meant to distract you. And then the third thing is this, Dems bad, right? Obama and Hillary Clinton are the devil and they do something in a pizza basement and we gotta get them, right? By the way, the Democrats have their own version. Trump bad, Trump bad. Okay, so what are they trying to distract from? Well, one of the stories we're gonna cover later in the show is a good example of it. Every year, both sides have been giving $35 billion a year to oil and gas companies in subsidies, straight out of our pockets to the richest corporations in the world. Now, multiply that by 200, because every giant donor class is getting paid, right? So Andy Ogles doesn't want you to see the robbery. He's one of the criminals who take the donor money and goes, here's all this. You know what they did? They added another $18 billion to oil subsidies. We complained about $4 billion going to Israel. So $35 billion is going to the oil companies every year. Now all of a sudden, $53 billion going to the oil companies. Why? The very last thing corporate Republicans and corporate Democrats want you to do is to focus on the actual robbery. So they distract you in 100 ways. Finally, I want to go back to that quote that I mentioned that we read to you. That a Clinton advisor was proposing a plan to demonize Putin and Trump, and they say that was just made up. They figured out that was actually the Russians, right, who were saying that. again, demonizing your political opponent is, first of all, Trump 101, Republican 101, and honestly, politics 101. Yeah, I mean, what is that? What is that in charge? Anyway, but that's not the funny part. The funny part is, later, the FBI, this is supposed to be a quote from a Clinton advisor, but obviously written by somebody who was a foreigner. Later the FBI will put more oil into the fire. Put more oil into the fire is not a saying that we say in America. Okay, that's guy doing Google Translate.
Yeah.
Come on, at least hire a guy who speaks English.
It's like when the End Wokeness Twitter account talked about warm water ports on Twitter. It's like, that's not how Americans talk, dude. It's too obvious.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.